Okay, for the past several streams, we have been working on the undo system. There are two things that I want to do today. One is to address a situation in which we record a lot more undo data than we need. And I haven't thought about how easy or difficult it'll be to do this. So maybe it'll go fast and maybe it'll be a long and arduous task. We'll illustrate in a second. Actually, you know what? Let's just talk about the problem. So I had this thing that we did a couple streams ago where I print how many undo actions happen. And we'll compile to make sure we're fresh, and we'll run. So while I do normal things, we're only recording one action for the move of this player character, so that's good. That was two actions because I moved and the stone moved. But when I push this stone, it's like saved 81 because the stone kept skipping, and maybe it's even recording something every frame for some reason. I don't actually know. Like, I don't think it's supposed to travel 81 squares, but maybe it does. There's some logic where the thing will go some number of squares outside the play zone and then it'll destruct. So I don't remember how many squares that is. It's plausible that it could be like 50 squares outside the play zone or something. Anyway, so you're seeing about 80 undo actions, which is unnecessary. And if you play a game where you're moving around a bunch of things like this, then you'll have 95% of what's in the undo buffer is just going to be this stuff that doesn't need there. So what I assume is happening is that multiple undos in a row are getting recorded for the same entity, and we can collapse all of those into one. Hopefully that's not too hard. And then once that is done, the second thing that I would like to do is to save undo information in Savegames and load them back from Savegames. Now, I put in the framework for that a long time ago, like over a year ago. So similarly, that may not be too difficult of a task, but then again, it could also be horrendous. So yeah. Hey, I don't run ads on Twitch. Did you get, I thought everybody got ads before, no matter what. If that's not true, if people are getting more ads because I switched to partner, then I will shut off partner status. So let me know about that. I don't want people seeing more ads than they ever did. Yeah, so we basically want to get back to a point where every time we move, we see one or two actions in a simple case like this, where one action is, a change of one entity. You see ads now every time you come in the stream. Did that not used to be true? I thought that was always true for people who aren't Twitch peoples. Because I'll shut off my partner if it's showing more ads. That's not cool. What file format to use for animations? We just have our own format, and right now it's a dumb text format, so it's even slow to load a lot of animations, but we will fix that later, hopefully. Okay, I'm gonna have to run a survey later. I want to do some programming now, but I want to get to the bottom of this ad thing because some people are saying they see more ads and other people aren't. That may or may not have to do with me being partner now. It may involve like maybe Twitch just made some changes globally. I don't know. So we'll later on we'll do a survey about that. Okay. So let's fix this situation. My presumption about what's happening is, well, I don't actually know. I don't, because the more I think about it, the more I'm concerned. So what I used to think it was that we're recording a bunch of updates for that stone moving. But what I now realize is we only search for those in scan for changed entities when we call undo endframe. So I don't think it's entity changes. What I suspect it actually is it always a multiple of 3? Well, maybe +1 for the entity movement. So what I think it is for those sound effects, we're creating the sound effect, maybe then recording an entity change event, and then destroying the sound effect when it's done playing, right? And we're doing that over and over and over. So maybe we want to do 2 things. Maybe first of all, we want to filter this list so that if there's a creation and a destruction, that we remove the creation, the destruction, and any update in the middle. But we want to determine if that's what's going on, and we can do that pretty easily. So here's what we're going to do. When we report how many actions, we're going to say if it's more than 10, we're going to print a quick summary. We're going to say for pending actions, print, we're going to put the index and then the type of action and then the type of the entity and the ID string, right? So it index, it dots, what's pending actions? It's an undo action. It dot type. Oh, we need to look up the entity. No, we don't. Let's not print the entity type. Let's just print the ID because that's all we need. We want to know whether these actions are on the same ID or different IDs or something, right? So we don't need this. So we're going to do that. All right, 63 actions. Oh yeah, there's a lot of creations and destructions. Oh, it's for the sounds and the particle systems, because every time those stones bounce in the water, there's a particle system. So we have one event for creation or destruction. We could get more elaborate about that, but you can sort of put it together. So here we're creating 439. Here we're destroying 439. Here we're updating 439 right before we destroy it. So that's 3 events. That's either a particle system or a sound effect, right? We don't need to record any of that. So one thing we could do is filter that out of the undo, but really, for just cleanliness of gameplay, we don't actually want to record those particle systems. In fact, I'm going to say right now, we don't strictly want to record any particle systems. I don't think. Maybe, yeah, I don't think we want to record any particle systems. We'll discover later if that's a mistake. We could put a flag on the particle system entity of like, oh, this is something you record for undo or not. But for now, we're going to say, look, if we're not in the editor, don't record any particle system changes. I'm being distracted by my video playing back over here. Okay. So we need to do that both in scan for changed entities. I'm going to say if should ignore entity it continue, right? And then note ECD here for creation or destruction. We're going to say if we should ignore that continue, right? So should ignore entity. Let's put this before all our weird, not real procedures down there. If we should ignore an entity, well, if e.entity_manager. I hope we don't get anyone with a null entity manager here. What's it called? For editing, return false. We want to pay attention to everything in the editor. If e.entity type is equal to case particle source. Do I still call this entity particle source? Ugh. Particle source. Okay. If it's particle source, return true. And if it's a sound, that's called entity issued sound for historical reasons. We might let's make a note to clean that up. So both in grade and the witness, I would call every subclass of entity something with the word entity starting it. And this time I decided not to do that, just to do it differently and see how it is. But because I pasted this code over before I made that policy, yeah. Okay. Well, can only continue from missing argument 1. So we didn't used to have the concept of this failing. So we need to do that. So not added. Added is not right. What do we want to call this? Let's just call it valid. That's not right either, but whatever. Okay. All right, let's see how that goes. Okay, so now we're having a situation where we're looking up an entity and we're probably asserting that it's in the list and it's not there. Let's take a look. Yeah, we're calling get old entity and we're saying, hey, there isn't one. So let's figure out where that's happening from and whether that's fixable by just saying ignore the thing. Okay. Scan one entity. Huh. Undo note destroyed entity. Oh, we do the scan one entity before. Okay, well, we can fix that. It's just a very small hack. Very small hack. So if well, we'll just do this. I don't. Okay. Very tiny, tiny. Hey, look. I just had a reasonable number of actions. Okay, can we undo all that stuff? Yep. Well, anytime we make a change that might affect undo in an adverse way, we need to test it. And you know how we do that. Ooh, I saw 15 actions there, but that's actually kind of plausible for that level because there's a lot of characters moving simultaneously. Most of these are just a small number of actions. I'm still seeing like 6s. You still have that frickin' print statement loop in there, by the way. Oh god, 19? Oh, okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, we're still seeing a lot here on this level. What level is this? Bard skip. Okay, well, let's run on Bard skip. Did I find a 2018 for particle system implementation? Well, we already answered that in pre-stream questions. Okay. Why so many actions? I only have a greater than 10. Huh. 28? 31? I bet there's a... What are all these entities? Flow updaters. Okay. this is a totally different issue. This is not an undo issue at all, but this is good. So now that the undo system is working well enough, it's helping us spot other problems in our system. So in this game, one of the things that happen is there are rivers. And when you drop a rock in a river, it can change the course of the river. And the way that works is there's a thing called a flow updater that gets created when a rock sinks and is supposed to die out when all its work is done. But now we're creating a bunch of flow updaters and they're not dying out. And that is not good. I don't even know why we're creating them if there's no flow in the first place. But first we should fix the fact that they're not dying out, and then we should fix the fact that we're creating them. So this stream has now derailed into not about undo anymore. It's about working on the entity system, but that's fine. This is work that we need to do. And this is what making games is like. So I'm going to write down on my new piece of paper two things. I'm going to write down flow updaters don't die out, and flow updaters created when no flow. And even though that just seems simple and it's only two things, why would I bother writing those down? It's because very quickly we might find more things that we have to write down. Okay. Yeah, I worked on flow updaters a couple weeks ago, and thought that I had them correct, but clearly that is not the case. It's weird. Is there anything weird about the ocean values? No? I literally have no idea. All right. So we're going to make a debug build. Again, we had one, but then we changed it. So we're making a new one. And then, well, so we have this thing where we say do divert. This is about diverting rivers. And we're going to have to look at this. Well, okay, so is this the only case in which we construct a flow updater? So we make a flow updater there. Whoa. No, because we make one right here. Divert incoming flows. We make one at the bottom of divert incoming flows. Oh, actually, we don't want to fix the making it first anyway. We want to fix the fact that they don't die out first, because that could happen even in cases when we're legitimately making them. So we're going to fix the don't die out, and then we're going to fix the make. So here we say advance one flow updater. Oh, I didn't look, but I assume these are all erasing updaters because there's no, so there's like a flow updater that erases the old water, and there's one that makes new river. And these are erasing ones probably. I can't imagine how they wouldn't be. So it's this loop. Advanced one flow updater is just not returning true. So we're going to run again from the debugger. What was that level called? I should have wrote down the name of the level. Bard skip. Thank you. That is what it was called. So we're going to start on that. Bard skip. See, that's why we stream without a big Twitch delay, so people could answer questions like that. Okay. We're going to set a breakpoint in... actually, let's not even do that yet. Okay, so we've got a bunch of actions. Some of that is going to be some of these flow updaters that are hanging around. Now, what file were those in? Skipping stones, line 418. All right. And these are timed entities, so we don't even need to move for them to happen. All right, so we're advancing a flow updater. There's ocean present where it is. It is erasing. There's no incoming flow from any direction. There's no markers. Stop flow. Okay, that's fine. What is DX? Are these moving every frame? Here's what's going on. This level is wrapping. This code was written assuming the level is not wrapping and that eventually the flow updater goes out of bounds. Because if you go out of bounds, info.oceanPresent will be false and then we'll return true that we destroy. But, or if you hit land, right? But we actually changed things so that we don't have to explicitly mark land anymore. It's a long story. So it is quite possible for these flow updaters to travel and wrap around the map over and over and over and never go away. However, I think it's correct that if we never stop a flow, like I think we can modify stop flow so that if this didn't do any work, we can return true. All right. I will first, I'm going to write down comment this thing that I'm about to do. And the reason I'm writing it down instead of commenting is because maybe this will turn out to be the wrong answer. So if I write the comment first, I wasted my time writing the comment. But if I don't write the comment first, I run the risk of forgetting to write the comment. So, yeah. Okay, stop flow. We get the ocean info. Okay. So now we're still going to get creations of flow updaters, but they should die out. So we'll see a little bit in the way of excess events, but it should never get crazy. Oh, we got a 15. But that was like a, 23, 11, 11. So it's going back. Actually, that might be legit. And I can check by, are there any flow updaters? No. There are no flow updaters in this level. So they did all die out, unlike before. So now when we get like 11 or whatever, it's probably that we're creating 11 of them. Or maybe we're creating, 5 of them, and then they're getting destroyed in the same frame. Because these are gameplay relevant, I don't want to filter them out. Yeah, like that 24, it could be, so me and 2 stones are moving, and we're all making sound effects, so that's 6. And then maybe we made 9 flow updaters for some reason, and they all got, or no, 6 flow updaters. They all got created, modified, and destroyed in the same frame. That's my explanation for how we get to 24. I don't know. I now want to address the creation of those flow updaters in the first place. Let's look at that code. We'll make a debug build again, because we probably want one. So divert incoming flows. I bet when I wrote this, Honey Badger didn't give a crap. Yeah, we just call this no matter what. We don't care if there are flows, right? So what we want to do is check for flow at the square. And if there isn't any, then that's the thing, right? So stop flow here, yeah. So if there's no flow, return. That's simple enough. Let me go back and comment my other thing, which, by the way, I wrote down to do that. Comment me. Okay. Now, after we fix this undo spam that's being generated, we have to go and make sure that it still works properly in cases where it's supposed to work. And unfortunately, in the Benny Hill test, I don't think there are any levels yet in that test suite that use this gameplay mechanic. So we're going to have to, I build a test level and or check some other things. Yeah, so now we're not seeing any ridiculous big numbers. So that's all good. We're not seeing 20 or 544. Okay, let's go back to here. Oh, look, we already sort of have a river. So let's put the camera here. Let's put the character. Oh no! I tried to move the character in the editor and it failed. Okay. So I'm going to write down on my list. I've crossed out everything I've written so far, but I'm writing down flow test level and test flow in existing game. And also editor asserts. All right, well, that's a disadvantage. What did I mess up? Good thing I didn't check anything in. I should have before doing the flow updater stuff. Sanity check? What? Okay, this, you know what? This was removed at work when I had the same problem. This was a temporary thing that I put in for debugging something and I accidentally checked it in. So we're supposed to have like a no check-in directive that we could use, but I think it doesn't work on this game or something. So I stopped using it. This update may take a second because we're getting all the data and everything. Oh, nope. Are there any questions about, yeah, see now it's gone once I've updated, so that's fine. Any questions about what's going on? What's the reason for that scope? Yeah, that scope that I inserted was just to make sure the comment is grouped with that code here, right? Because when you leave things in a straight line without grouping, they could drift. Like you could maybe put some lines between these or just before, or spacing changes. And this is just to make it very clear what this comment is talking about. That's all. Would it be worth it to include some editor gameplay in the Benny Hill sequence? That way you always check if both real game and editor work. It may well be worth it. It would be a different kind of testing. Maybe it would just be a separate test, but then I run both tests because, yeah, just the way that test operates in terms of playing back user input is not really the same thing as what would work with the editor, but we could definitely put together something that would do basic stuff in the editor. I would have to think about what the correctness test is for the editor, because with the gameplay, it's like, well, you win the level, right? So we would have to say, you know, after all these operations, maybe check that certain entities exist and are at certain positions and certain other entities don't exist or something. It would be more involved and more hard-coded, but yeah, we could definitely do that. Okay, so. Oh, yeah, I already had been editing this a bit at work. Okay, so I'm going to put this guy, we're going to put this here, going to do this, we're going to delete these. We're going to put the camera here, and we're going to get our rocky poo, and we're going to put it underwater there. So the first one of these that I push is going to land on top of that rock and not do anything. The second one should divert this river. So it'll drop into the square where that corner is, it'll make a flow updater that erases the previous river and also one that makes a new path for the next river. And hopefully this isn't a disaster, which it might well be. All sorts of things could go wrong. Let's see. Hey, look at that. It still works. That's actually a good concept for a level. Might have to design a lot because we're like shrinking this loop, you know. That's pretty fun. So we already kind of can declare victory. Let's see what happens if we get rid of this. I think it should just die out, right? Yeah. Well. What was the state before that? I'm not sure what the logic should be for this. This case of like two pieces of river flowing directly into each other is not really something that would happen in real life. Although maybe it would. I don't know. That whether or not this last square going to the right should disappear or not is that's up for questioning a different time. Okay. This is all good, though. This is all good. We're going to take out those print statements and we're going to check in. So this one, we're just going to comment out and leave it there in case we need it. And this one we're going to delete because we don't want that to happen. Now, we run a test. Any questions about what's going on? Oh, you know what? Let's run the test with this up, and I'll vaguely watch it while we're answering questions, because we just learned about a problem, and we might learn about more problems. I saw some 12s, but that was legit for that level. Because you move a whole row of stuff, it could be a lot of things. Are the rivers supposedly some sort of undercurrent? Well, they're just sort of on the surface, actually. Well, and under, and you block them by dropping stuff in their path. These little rocks under the water there, they go right up to the surface. They're, you know... Later, graphically, we'll represent that better. Still looks good. Does your team do code reviews? Very rarely. We'll do code reviews if we bring on a junior person and we look at what they do once in a while, or you know, if somebody knows they're working on something that's very complicated and that they don't really know how it works. But most of the time, 99% of the time, we assume that the programmers are functional adults who know what they are doing and are competent to do their jobs. So no, we don't code review. Really need to. That whole pass there was unnecessary. I could speed up that read quite a lot. I'm gonna write down to speed that I looked away for a minute. Did anyone see a crazy number of undo actions? Started writing a tokenizer for fun. Right now I'm storing all the information about the token in a struct. You saw other examples that use enums as tokens. What did I do? I mean, definitely I have a struct, but there's a type tag on the struct that's an enum that says, oh, it's a string or an identifier or whatever. But that's not all the information. Like, if it's a string, you need to know what the string is and whatever. So there's definitely, I have a struct where an enum is one of the members of the struct. Can this test run faster? It probably can. You know what? Let's go. Test time rate. Let's try speeding it up. We might, oh, it's definitely going faster. I don't know, you know, at some point we're waiting for graphics to render, so it's definitely faster. We're still getting 60 FPS, so I don't know. But if it really goes faster, we're not going to be able to hear serious business. I hate to break it to you guys. But eventually we'll have more tests. Yeah, this is... I think with the skipping stones, we actually wait for it to skip, which we could speed up. Can't read the action text. Yeah, I can see it pretty okay, but it's probably due to... Yeah, we're not going to see serious... We're not going to hear serious business for a long time. Because I didn't even speed up the tests there until they were halfway done, right? So we're never getting off the Benny Hill theme at this rate. The waveform history appears to change as it scrolls across the screen. Okay, so what happens is we renormalize that output based on the history. So you'll see it expand or contract a little bit, but it should be the same data, right? Because if you're playing a lot of quiet sounds, you want to be able to sort of zoom in and see the shape of the quiet sounds. So we just have it auto do that. Now that you might be seeing something else, there could be a legit bug, but I think that that's my knee-jerk explanation for what you're seeing. I fixed a lot of the test fails, so we're down to, oh, why is Heroes 3.5 failing? That's weird. Oh, somebody flipped the level. So we have to re-record this. Let's do it as separate thing. So we're going to say reduce, undo, spam, fix flow updater spam. So that's all good. And so we have to re-record this. Let's actually load this level. We'll put the camera more comfortably out because that was ridiculous. Actually, because my window started off the screen, I put the cam. All right. So oh, I gotta record this. Uh-oh, I checked in with that print statement there, so we better do this fast. Otherwise, whoops. There we go, and then, whoa. Do I have cheats turned on? Whoever edited this level, wait, what? Fucking, all right. This level was flipped without flipping the gameplay. So like, that shouldn't have worked because the monsters should have been stuck in the wall. So if the monster's stuck in the wall, you shouldn't be able to charm them out. Okay. All right. So record. Recording saved. Playback. There we go. Great. Fixing levels is serious business. Serious business. Let's make sure that compiles, even though it does. Just, you know, all right. So one of the things I have written on my piece of paper was, in addition to making that test level that we did, I want to do at least a quick sanity check on an actual game. So I'm going to cheat my way through some stuff over to here. And I'm going to go there and there. Spoilers. Spoilers. All right. So yeah, that worked. Great. I almost feel satisfied with that stream. We didn't do the second part that I said at the beginning of putting the undo information in Savegames, but maybe we'll do that tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. Oh, maybe we'll start it now. Maybe we'll at least look at it. I feel like I'm at it. Let's do a few minutes of just questions or anything, so I can take a brain break, and then we'll see if I want to segue to that or if I just want to go do my regular workday now. What do people think? Number of viewers is a lot higher when I stream in the morning. Did I consider using Vulkan? The reason I'm using GL right now is just because I didn't have to think about it at all, and we could get something running. As we make the engine complex and get ready to ship it, we will be thinking about what we actually want to ship it using. And I doubt that the answer to that is OpenGL. Progress with the Q&A website. Abner's been working on that, and he's got a lot of stuff together. I don't know when he plans to have it done. How do you make the VS debugger? Do you write your own PDB files or do something else? LLVM writes the PDB files for us. It doesn't do a perfect job, but it does an okay job. There's still some issues that we need to work with. About Unity builds, if you make a compilation unit for other people's code and one for the rest of your game, that could work, but it's not exactly for other people's code. It's for the parts of your game that interface with other people's code, because that's what has to include all their bloated, horrible header files and stuff. But yeah, that's an idea that could work. Do we use any task tracking software? I don't know. I don't. Probably a text file. Judging from the chat reaction, there are a lot of newer people to the stream who don't understand why you don't like OpenGL. Well, that's great. There's a lot of people who think C++ is good also. What are you going to say? What are some games to make to stretch a beginner's skill after Brick Breaker, Asteroids, etc.? I don't know. Just pick something that seems challenging, right? That you're excited about. It's your understanding that there is no native C API for hardware acceleration on Mac. I mean, I didn't do any of the Metal interface code, so I don't know how that works, but I think there's just a very thin layer for calling into Objective-C or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Any work on language spec? No, we're not going to do a language spec. That's dumb. I mean, it's not dumb. It's just not productive, and it's not real work. We got real work to do. Am I going to be at PAX West? I don't know. How to get excited about making something? You just got to find the things that are exciting for you. I can't tell you what you're excited about, and neither can anybody else. You just got to know it. Do you always use a tokenizer and all that stuff to parse your own custom file formats, or do you read through the text file without any token recognition? No, for my custom formats, there's no tokenizer. There's no need. It's too simple. You just know what the lines are supposed to look like and pull them apart. And then you complain if they don't look like what you expected them to. When shipping games on Windows, have you found most of the Windows API to be reliable, or are there some parts that caused issues? Most of the Windows APIs are reliable, but some of them are complicated and crappy and hard to understand. But really, graphics is 99.99% of our problems. More specifically, bugs in graphics drivers. If there weren't graphics driver bugs, games on Windows would work tremendously better. How does sound designers fit into the workflow of the engine? So usually they don't program the sounds. Usually I program the game's triggers to play those sounds. But when possible, we let people work in the editor and set up sound effects. So for The Witness, they just put sounds in the world wherever they wanted to. For this game, most of the sounds are not necessarily in the world. They're more like action sounds. So that may not apply so much. I don't know. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. You had a 12-minute interview with id. All right, well, that doesn't seem very long. Sometimes it could be good that it's short, and sometimes it could be bad that it's short. Like, you know, often, I don't know how they interview, right? But often the first person in an interview process for a bigger company is just there to figure out if you're a total Yahoo or if you're someone they should really be interviewing. And that first person might be a recruiter or something who doesn't really know anything about the job. And so their role might be either to pass on you very quickly or to move you to the next stage very quickly, right? So one or the other of those things might have just happened. I don't know. It probably does. It probably is faster to reject people than not. So that's maybe a bad sign. But if the recruiter is just a clueless recruiter, then maybe that's not true. And it takes the same amount of time for either one. Yes, for hot reload, we use read directory changes. Someone is saying, could you start numbering the videos independent of what they are about? I don't really number the videos, but they are put into a playlist chronologically. So if you follow the playlist, let me try to figure out how that. I don't know how you get to this as a user, but you know, here we have this playlist, game engine programming, for example, that gets all these videos. Anyway. And here on the right, they're here in this list in chronological order, right? So, I mean, the problem is these playlist links are just total spam URLs, but I don't know, maybe you could bookmark it or something. Or maybe you can add on YouTube, like, follow the playlist. Yeah, you could like add the, oh no, that's just for the video. I don't know. Maybe you can figure out how to do it. Do I think visual scripting will ever be big? It already is big, especially in game creation with, like, you know, Unreal blueprints and whatever. People use that stuff to do things. Did I ever want to become a mathematician? Not super much. I like math, but there were other things. I always was more interested in physics, but then, like, I started college as a physics major, but very quickly changed to computer science because in reality, I like computers a lot. So, yeah. Have I ever demoed how we do FFI? No, but we use a library for it. And it's very simple. Latte lib. I don't know what a latte lib is, and I probably am glad that I don't know. All right, let's at least look a little bit at saving stuff in save files. And maybe we'll save them but not yet load them just to get a start on the thing, and then I'll go to lunch and do my other things for the day. In this file serialize, we have all this stuff. And okay, so some of this we can remove because we shouldn't be calling serialize and unserialize on undoable entity datas anymore. I don't think. Wow, I did a lot of stuff. What? Oh my God. I don't think most of this is necessary anymore, which is good because back when I wrote this, I was like, why do I have so much stuff? So, you know, entities can add more fields over time and stuff, and you need to be able to load old save games after you've changed the entity format. And so before, when I was actually just saving memory out, we had to deal with this. We had to deal with the fact that like, oh, the memory that you saved out might be an old version. Now we don't really need to deal with it in the same way. We just say apply diff and hopefully it works. And if it doesn't work in all cases, we just kind of fix it. But yeah, I think a lot of this code goes away, which will make me happy. Let's just sort of look where the entry point is and start there. If there is one here, I guess it's somewhere else, like maybe in campaign. So we call serialize with some undo actions. Yeah, nobody calls serialize in this file, so it's external. Well, we shouldn't need this anymore, right? So, like, nobody in principle should call that. So, well, unless somebody from a totally different file does it for a different reason. Because entity changes don't have those. We just save the diff. I don't know why we're putting the diff before the type index. That doesn't make any sense to me. Except maybe as a sanity check? I guess we're supposed to know what type it is anyway, but yeah, we don't, there's no condition in which we do this. So I should be able to comment this out and still compile the game. Yeah, that's good. And similarly for the unserialize with undoable entity data. Okay, that's great. Already less code. Let's make this into a log print. Now that we have that, that shows you how old this code was. Okay. Let's see who calls serialize. Campaign. Well, we have this if false. Right, so we save the type manifest. The type manifest is a list of what entity types we know about and what versions they are. That way when we load it back in, you know, we can deal. I think that is going to be a little bit problematic when we try to load back, because I think our diff apply assumes the entities are the same version, right? So apply diff with entity load needs to handle different versions. Anyway, we save out what the entities are and what versions they are. We say how many undo records we have. And then we save out all the records. And each record has an array of actions. And we serialize the actions separately. That's what goes in this file. And then we just paste the string. And then we save out the campaign. We need to like save into better folders than this stupid Windows roaming hidden folder. Okay, so I don't have any old save files, which is no surprise because this has been if false for a long time. Let's make that if true. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Great. Great. So now before we actually try running any of the, let's see if it compiles. Okay. I haven't looked at who calls save campaign for game mode yet, but before we do any of this, I just want to go in and maybe do this upgrade thing, because I think all that goes away. Yeah, because like diffs no longer are memory images. Is this an unserialized? Yeah. Okay. Great. Maybe upgrade. So we're 625 lines before we delete this. And we are 549. So that's over 10% of the file. It's actually not as much as I wish it was, but you know. But a lot of this is stuff we're using. So this whole slots differ thing, that's the new thing that we wrote. And entities differ, that's the new thing that we wrote a couple streams ago. Okay. We have this polymorphic put, so we can just call put on things. This all looks vaguely reasonable. What does this get catalog for resource? And why is it in serialize? That is old. Now if we put a string, yeah, we just save the count in data, which, by the way, we were doing manually, I think, for something. Oh, in here, we were like doing this, but we could just say put builder right. We just put the count. Yeah, same thing. I don't know why we were doing that manually. Okay. That's all great. So who calls I feel like the string U16 lens could be shortened up. All this stuff, like the type manifest things, I feel like we ought to be able to do something more data-driven about this, but I don't do that yet. I don't know. We'll see. We're 500 line. That's more than I wish it was. Wish it were. It's really not that long, though. It's just more than I wish. More than I wish. Okay. We are looking at who calls save campaign for game mode. Nobody. Well, for now, we will bind it to a key. Because we're going to want to test it. And then later we'll figure out when to save things. Do we have a save? No. Okay, so command save. Whoops. And then the developer.keymap. What do we want to bind that to? Something that people aren't going to accidentally do. So I'm thinking control L. I'll go lowercase just to be consistent. Wait, why is L saved? That's stupid. P, I don't know. I just don't want it to be something people are going to use. But L seems like load, so. All right. So let's go to a thing here. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, did we save a file? There's a file. Let's look in the file. There's our type manifest. There's some data ostensibly representing some undos. I'm a little disturbed that it's already 4K, but type manifest is a substantial amount of that. We'll have to look at what takes all the data later. I mean, can I trust it? It doesn't really look like 4K. Really? I don't know. We'll investigate later. I kind of feel like Windows is fibbing. Like 20 lines and they're about, wow, they're very wildly differing. I guess if they're 100 bytes more than, if they're 200 bytes per line, that's 4K. That doesn't look like a 200 byte per line average. Is there somewhat of a limit to how many productive coding hours you have in a day? If the most that I've ever done is probably about 12 or 13 highly productive hours when I'm really jamming. Your functions code files are a bit too long. No, they're not. Yes, it is a good idea to write long functions. 12 to 13 is not my typical day. Somebody asked limit, and the times when I'm most productive and really jamming on something that I'm very excited about and I'm healthy and I feel good, I can do 12 or 13. Yeah. Don't listen to any of these Hacker News people who say like, oh, you can't possibly code for more than 4 hours a day. You got to get up and go to the water cooler and eat donuts and read Hacker News and watch YouTube because that's how your brain rests. That's bullshit. Those are limiting beliefs. And if you believe that, it will prevent you from developing. Seriously, I've posted on Hacker News. I don't read Hacker News anymore, but back when I did, I would post or comment in a thread and people would reply to me like, it's just not possible. You need to go read websites because that's how your brain rests. And it's like, come on, dude. If you're reading a website on the internet, you're sitting in the same chair you were sitting in when programming. You're using your brain's like reading ability, your information processing. You're not resting. You're just procrastinating. You're just wasting time, right? And just the cognitive dissonance there is bananas. But yeah, a typical day, it's hard to say because I don't, I do a lot of things besides programming. So I do level design, or I do like figuring out what we're gonna work on, or I write speeches, or I stream like this. Like when I stream like this, it's not a super productive programming session usually. It's moderately productive, right? We got some things done. So this thing we got done is we're successfully saving a file of some kind. So I'm going to check this in and I'm going to leave that there for now. And next stream, we're going to try to load this back and make sure it works properly, including potentially that upgrade issue that isn't handled yet. Which we actually won't have to do that initially because that doesn't come into play until you start modifying entities. So we'll get it working next time, like being able to load campaigns. And then we will start modifying entities and make sure it still works, which will be fun. Is Balmer Peak a thing? I don't know what that refers to. If it's anything to do with the Microsoft Balmer guy, it's maybe not a good idea. Will we bump into me on the Black Ops 4 beta this weekend? Is that the one that has Battle Royale or not? I don't play Call of Duty Deathmatch is just too dumb. But do you have tricks to continue to believe in what you're doing for those days when you wake up and feel not so good? Well, I'd say there are two separate things going on there, right? One of the things is that, yes, it is sometimes hard to remember the excitement that you had in the beginning of a project when it starts going long and all that. Part of that is just really remembering, having faith that your excitement was well founded, maybe going through and replaying what you have and seeing the nice things about it and getting yourself re-excited about it. That was very useful to do during the witness. But it sounds like there's another thing going on, which is if you regularly wake up and feel bad about yourself and about your life, that's a separate problem. And that's tackleable independent of whatever you're working on. And if you feel that way, it's going to affect your ability to do good things. And so I recommend working on that as well. Yeah, the beta won't have Battle Royale, so I probably won't play it. Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming by today, everybody. That was a good stream. Let me check in. This is a different error that has nothing to do with what we're doing, but we need to fix that someday. All right. That was good. So we got everything done that I planned to get done, and we also fixed some bugs in the flow updaters. So that was a bonus.